Dowell, can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. Yes, my name is Nicole Dowell, Nicoledowell.
Ms. Dowell, where are you employed?
I'm currently employed with the Metro Nashville Police Department Crime Laboratory
Okay, how long have you been with the crime lab?
for 12 years.
What is your current assignment at the crime lab?
I'm a forensic scientist in the Drug Identification Unit.
Okay. Can you walk the jury through your history at the crime lab and what kind of positions you've held?
Sure. I was hired in 2014 as a forensic technician, and then in 2015 I was promoted to a forensic scientist.
Okay. Can you describe your job at the crime lab?
Yes. My job is to analyze submitted evidence for the absence or presence of controlled substances.
And what kind of training have you had for your job?
I had to complete an internal training program that consisted of assigned readings, lectures, observation of senior scientists, practical exams, and a competency exam.
Okay, what's your education background?
I earned a Bachelor's of Science in Forensic Science from Eastern Kentucky University.
And are you required to have ongoing training?
We're not required, but we do. I participate in continuing education by attending seminars and workshops in my specific discipline.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to pass the
Okay.
witness up.
Thank you.
Ms. Dowell, what did I just hand you?
My CV.
Okay. Have you ever testified in court as an expert in drug ID?
Yes,
About how many times?
approximately 8 times.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to tender Ms. Dowell as an expert in drug ID.
Any questions? Okay. Or again, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Dowell will be allowed to give an expert opinion in her field, and a lay witness or untrained witness would not be allowed to give. You can place such weight upon her testimony as you choose to. Okay.
Yes, sir, and at this time, could we mark her CV as the
Okay.
state's next exhibit 26?
Should, all right.
Ms. Dowell, were you asked to review evidence relating to a Metro Nashville Police Department complaint number ending in 0532?
Yes,
Okay. Does the crime lab assign unique lab case numbers to all the evidence it receives?
yes it does.
Okay, and what was that crime lab number associated with that complaint number I just gave you?
Do you have the report?
Did you create a report in this case?
Yes, I did. Thank you. The crime lab number is CL-23-001060.
And what type of evidence did you receive from the police department for this case?
I received drinking glasses, empty bottles, and liquid residues, and liquid.
And what do you do when you receive evidence from the police department?
When I receive the evidence from my evidence receiving unit, I take it back to the unit, I photograph the evidence, then I open, inventory the contents, collect weights, sample, and then start performing my testing.
Ms. Dowell, where is the crime lab located?
It's located in Madison Precinct on the 2nd floor.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to show her state's exhibits 17 through 24.
Okay. All right, we got it. All of them?
Yes, sir. Ms. Dowell, if you could just look at all of the pieces of evidence Mr. Evans is going to hand you and say whether or not you reviewed this evidence.
Okay. This is submission 008, and yes, I did test this evidence.
Okay, what is that?
This is a clear drinking glass, and I can tell that I tested the evidence because of the evidence tape and my initials and the date. This is submission 007, also a clear drinking glass. And again, I see the crime lab tape with my initials and the date on it, so I did test this evidence. This is submission 006. Inside the paper bag were 2 empty bottles. I also can see the yellow crime lab tape and my initials and date indicating I tested the same. These are submissions 003, 004, and 005. They are amounts of liquid said to be removed from drinking containers. I can tell that I tested them because, again, the yellow crime lab tape, and they have my initials and date on them.
Ms. Dowell, 009 and 010, the comforter and the washcloth, did you test those pieces of evidence in the crime lab?
No,
And why is that?
because it was suspected to contain biological material, and we do not test biological material in the drug identification unit.
Okay, what do you do with that type of evidence?
It is outsourced to a third-party laboratory.
And is NMS Labs something the crime lab routinely sends evidence to?
Yes.
And was that done in this case?
Yes, it was.
For that blue comforter and the yellow washcloth?
Yes.
And Ms. Dowell, were these pieces of evidence given to you in a sealed condition?
Yes, they were.
Okay, would you accept them if they were not sealed?
I would make it, if they were not sealed, a note would be made in my case file and it would be included on the report.
How is property stored at the crime lab?
When it's received into the crime lab, it's stored in the evidence receiving unit in one of their vaults until an analyst has been assigned. And then once the scientist or analyst is assigned the case, they notify evidence receiving unit that they'd like to pick up the evidence. Then custody is transferred to the scientist and they will take the evidence back to their specific unit, so drug identification unit in my case, and then it will be stored in the drug identification vault, inside of my personal storage locker until I'm ready to perform the analysis.
And Ms. Dowell, you are not an expert in toxicology, is that correct?
That's correct.
As part of generating your report in this case, does the report contain weight and the results of your testing?
Yes, it does.
Can you walk the jury through what type of testing you did for the pieces of evidence you tested?
Yes. So 2 tests are required in the drug identification unit. Both of the tests that I performed on each piece of evidence involved a technique called chromatography. Chromatography allows you to separate components of a mixture. To do that, you employ a stationary phase and a mobile phase. The stationary phase remains still throughout the whole testing process, while the mobile phase, which is typically a gas or a liquid, flows over the stationary phase. Thin layer chromatography is a preliminary test that was used in this case. A glass plate coated with silica is the stationary phase. The sample is then spotted onto the plate along with a solution containing known drug standards. That plate is then placed in a solvent system. As the solvent rises vertically up the plate, separation occurs. This happens because some of the components of the mixture react differently or more strongly to the silica. So if they react more strongly to the silica, they will not travel as far up the plate. If they don't react as strongly, they will travel further. Once the solvent reaches the top of the plate, it is removed and placed in a visualization tank containing iodine. Iodine vapor allows us to visualize those spots. And then we can compare the unknown sample spots to the known sample spots, standard spots, The confirmatory test used in this case is called gas chromatography mass spectrometry, or GCMS. It is 2 separate instruments that are combined together. The gas chromatograph, again, allows for separation of components in a mixture. So in this case, the sample is injected into the instrument where it is vaporized, so it's now in a gaseous phase. It flows through a column, and that column has an internal coating, which is the stationary phase in this case. So a column, you can think of it like a long, thin straw. So if the inside of the straw is where the coating is. The mobile phase, in this case, is helium. It flows through the column and helps the components, it helps the components of the mixture travel through the column. Again, it depends on how strongly each component reacts to that column coating, how long it will take to travel through the column. Once it travels through the column, it enters into the mass spectrometer, where it is then bombarded with electrons, and it fragments. That fragmentation pattern is unique, and we can compare that to known drug standards.
And can you tell the jury what the screening method is?
Yes, so the screening method is what we use on the gas chromatograph mass spectrometer. It allows for us to screen for a wide variety of controlled substances.
Okay, and is cocaine one of those substances that it would screen for?
Yes,
Okay. And that was done in all the pieces of evidence other than the comforter and the washcloth?
yes,
And Ms. Dowell, were you able to detect any sort of substance in all of the pieces of evidence you examined?
I didn't detect any controlled substances in any of the items I tested.
Your Honor, if you'll give me 1 minute.
Okay.
And Ms. Dowell, can you walk the jury through if any type of evidence would have been rinsed out or anything like that, if substances would have been picked up?
Yes, so there was a clear drinking glass that didn't appear to have any residue. There was no visible residue or contents. Those glasses were rinsed with methanol, so if there was some type of residue that I couldn't see visibly, I would extract it with the methanol.
Okay, and if these pieces of evidence had been rinsed out prior to the crime lab, is it likely substances would have popped up?
If they had been rinsed prior to coming into my possession,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't really speak to what happens to it before it comes into my possession.
Ms. Dowell, my question might have been confusing. Not something that you did or rinsed out, but if someone prior to you, not with Metro PD, would have rinsed it out with warm water, soap, anything like that, are these results consistent with that?
Potentially, if the glass contained some kind of controlled substance and it was washed with water, that could remove some of that controlled substance, yes.
And what else could remove controlled substances from any sort of drinking glass?
I mean, if it's a physical amount of solid material, you could just pour that amount out. It just depends on what it is and how much of it is there.
And you testified previously that the drinking glass did not look like it had anything in it, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And out of the liquids, you have a red liquid, a light pink liquid, and a clear liquid. There was no substances found in that either, is that correct?
That's correct.
And those were from the actual bottles, correct? You tested the bottles?
Yes, I tested both, the bottles and the liquid.
And nothing was
Correct.
in either bottle, the drinking glasses, or the liquid?
Correct.
Your Honor, if I could admit Ms. Dowell's report as the state next exhibit 27.
Okay.
Helps.
And Ms. Dowell, if you were not provided with the item or the drinking glass that was used, your testing would not be helpful, is that correct? With this controlled substance in it? It would not have been detected?
If I was not provided with the drinking glass,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
If a drinking glass had contained a controlled substance, but you were not provided with that drinking glass, your testing on the other two would not have been helpful, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if the controlled substance had been in the clear drinking glasses, the two you were provided with, but had been rinsed out with water, warm water, cold water, soapy water, it would have removed, it is possible and highly likely that it would have removed that controlled substance.
Yes.
All right, I'll over the objection, she's answered it. Any other questions?
No, sir. That's the state's.
All right, question on behalf of Mr. Taylor.
Yes, thank you. May I see Exhibit 27, please? Good morning, Ms. Dowell.
Good morning.
So you're only testing stuff that you're given, right?
Correct.
You don't really make any sort of investigative decisions about what's tested and what isn't tested, right?
I don't make any investigative decisions as far as what is submitted to the laboratory.
Sure. So things are submitted to you and you test what's submitted, right?
Correct.
May I publish Exhibit 27
Sure.
to Ms. Dowell? And this is your report that's been admitted as Exhibit 27. You identified it?
Yes, can you scroll to the last page where my signature is, please?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's your signature there?
Yes.
At the front of this report, it says the submitting officer is Adam Reese. Is that right?
Yes.
So he's the one who submitted the items to you?
No, he's the one that submitted the Form 282 or the forensic services request to our evidence receiving unit.
Oh, so he makes the request as to what gets tested.
In this instance, yes.
Okay. I noticed on here, items 7 and 8, there's a clear drinking glass, item 7, right?
Yes.
And then item 8 is identified as a clear drinking glass with light pink residue. Is that kind of your description of it there?
Yes, that's my description.
Is that something where you described a process where you kind of do a rinse?
Correct.
Is that a process where you would do the rinse in that glass?
Yes.
And then you would test whatever comes out of the rinse to determine if there's controlled substances?
Yes.
And in this situation, there were no controlled substances found in any of this, right?
That's correct.
And there were some questions asked by the state. Isn't it possible that some of these glasses were washed and maybe that's why you didn't find anything? That's kind of what was asked, right?
Yes.
Is it also possible that there were never any drugs in these glasses?
Yes, that's a possibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. You
Thank
can step down and be excused. Mr. Letchfield.
The next witness is Detective Tom Miller.
Okay.
He is going to be a bit lengthy, and there are some things that I need to show to defense counsel prior to him testifying.
Okay, is there someone else to call?
The next person is Dr. Carney, who is the expert, and he has to testify before her, so no.
What do they not have?
Well, from yesterday's testimony, there were some additional exhibits that were added to his testimony, so I need to show them to them before we put them up. That's true.
Okay, I need to proceed on, so if you have a witness, we can call